So welcome back to another running shoe review, and today we're taking a look at the ON Cloudsurfer 2. So as I retire my Asics Nova Blast 5 from my easy shoe rotation, that means there's a space now for a new shoe to slot in place. Will it be the ON Cloudsurfer 2? Well, today, as per all first impressions videos, I've managed to get 2 runs done in the shoe, a nice easy run and then a moderate steady run with some strides on the end. And I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on this shoe in the early days and let you know if this one will be carrying on in the rotation or not. And as with all first impressions videos, we'll be going through how I tested them, give you guys a technical overview, and then give you my thoughts at the end. Quick disclaimer, this is a pair of shoes that ON sent me for the purpose of review. However, they have no editorial control over this video, they have no idea of my thoughts, and they won't see anything before you guys get to see it here on YouTube. So with that out of the way, let's dive into how I tested the shoe. So the first run I got done in this thing was a nice 45-minute, or just shy of 45-minute easy run on the Tuesday evening. Really enjoyed that, really good. I'll tell you what I really like about this shoe is there's just a really small toe off that just makes you, it's not aggressive further back on the shoe. You don't feel like you are permanently in that state of rolling through, but there's just enough to encourage you through onto that next foot strike. It's very nice and it does make you flow very nicely, and I found that very welcoming on that easy run. Even more so when I picked up the pace in the moderate run the next day. So on the Wednesday, I tested it out for a 60-minute steady run, ran very smoothly, very nicely, and I did some strides at the end, and the shoe really moved nicely on the strides. It did well when I picked up the pace. I've got some thoughts on the midsole foam, which I'll share with you a bit later in my first impressions. However, it worked well on the moderate run, and as I said, this little toe off here is aggressive enough that it gets you rolling through nicely, but it's not set far back in the shoe, so it doesn't feel like you're permanently stepping on the edge of the curb. It's just literally as you land and you start to roll, it really does encourage you nicely, and I appreciate that. I like that. It makes things flow very well. And let's go through a very quick technical overview. I went half a size up in this shoe, as I do with ON shoes, as I have in the ON Cloud Monster 2 and the Hyper and all the other ON shoes that I've tested in the past. I find that that matches up with the EU49, which matches across the board with other brands when I'm testing theirs in size 13, like in Asics and Saucony. Their 13 is an EU49, ON's 13.5 is an EU49, so that fits really well. We're talking about a 9mm heel to toe drop. I believe it's 32mm of stack in the heel, 23 in the forefoot, and in my UK size 13.5, it comes in at a relatively decent 341 grams or 12 ounces flat. And for my size, that's pretty decent. Often when you get into the realms of 350 and above, it starts to get a bit heavy and clunky, but 340 is pretty darn good. So we'll start our way at the back of the shoe and work our way from the heel counter, ankle collar, tongue, lacing upper, midsole, and finish with the outsole. We got a breathable mesh upper which runs all the way around the shoe, and what visually looks like quite a thick and padded heel counter there. And honestly, when I saw this, I see the angle pushing back up into the Achilles. I was a little bit concerned if I get any rubbing. Absolutely not. It is absolutely fine. It's actually quite stretchy and moldable, and it fits around the top of the foot really nicely. So when you put your foot in, this hugs the foot nicely, and it's a deep cut there under the ankle bone to make sure it doesn't rub. So that all fits really nicely. The tongue is also well padded. It's not gusseted, I believe, but there is obviously the tab on the top of the tongue there to weave the laces through so it doesn't slide left to right, but it is actually decent padding. It's not super thick, but it's definitely not paper thin. There's some really good cushioning in the back here, and it really does feel nice and comfortable all of the way around, from the heel padding there, under the ankle collar, and up to the tongue. So that's really nice. In terms of the lacing, it's a bit of a hybrid really. We've got a mix of a standard lacing system for the majority of it, but we do use some embroidered laces at the top and the bottom there. And what I actually like about this is it spreads a little bit wider across the base of the foot and at the top of the foot, so it does give a better hugging feeling, and again, it gives a decent lockdown. I didn't have any issues with anything coming loose, anything coming undone. It just fitted really nicely. As for the upper, this is probably the best fitting on upper that I've ever tried. One gripe I've had with ON shoes in the past, something that's bugged me on a few pairs of their shoes, despite the fact that I absolutely love them, is the fact that their uppers can be a little bit sloppy, can be a bit baggy, don't have that snug fit like a lot of other brands have managed to get locked into. This changes it. It is such a good upper. This is the first ON shoe I've slipped my foot in and gone, wow, this upper is really nice and hugging to the foot. So a really good and much welcomed update from On there on the upper. As for the midsole, we're using their Helion Super Foam, which is on the firmer side of things. I definitely enjoyed this on the easy run. What I was expecting, maybe a wrong expectation, I don't know, that when I picked up the pace in the moderate steady run, I was expecting a little bit more feedback from the shoe. I didn't quite get it. What I've noticed is it provides and delivers great cushioning, great comfort, as I said, on the firmer side, but responsiveness isn't this shoe's thing. I didn't necessarily feel like I was getting much propulsion from the shoe when I was going through the foot strike. That was being given based on the rocker at the end, so I felt it was more of a smoother ride rather than necessarily a propulsive ride. I felt like I rolled through the gait cycle really nicely. When I picked up the pace, the shoe worked with it, but I didn't necessarily get much spring back from that midsole. So I actually found that I preferred it on the easy run compared to the moderate run. Both of them were great, but it just worked better for me on that easy day. So as I said, firmer side of things, but still really nice. And as for the rubber outsole coverage, we've got a good chunk of it on the top here in the form of their pads. It looks relatively thick, so I should think durability will be pretty decent on this thing. We've got it on the base here as well, so the only exposed midsole that might get a bit chewed up, and we see quite a lot with a lot of shoes, to be fair, is this section here from midfoot towards the heel. Other than that, we've got some great traction at the front there. Hopefully that will last a long time, fingers crossed, and of course at the back here as well. And there we go, that is it for the tech. So now all the tech stuff's out of the way, how did I find the shoe? Well, it was really enjoyable. As I said, I think I alluded to it, the midsole didn't quite give me what I was hoping for when I picked up the pace, but then that's not what this shoe is about. I've actually tested a fair few On shoes now. I think going back, I've tested the On Cloud Stratus 3, the Cloud Flow 4, I think it was. I tried the Monster 2, the Hyper, I've tried the On Cloud Boom Echo 3, and now I've tried the Surfer 2. It feels a real privilege to be able to test so many of the range, and I feel like just year on year we're getting improvements from the brand as we move forward. What I would love to see, if I'm honest, and I appreciate that this is one of those shoes that is geared up for daily training and just logging those easy miles, but I've been so impressed. Let me just show you. I've been so impressed when I've tested the Monster 2 and the Hyper with the dual density foam that they've got going on here. This one in the front, in the forefoot, on both of these shoes, to be fair. I believe they're slightly different compounds, but they are so nice and a little bit on the softer side. They're not super soft, super squidgy, which is perfect. These ones right here at the front hit my sweet spot absolutely perfectly, and if we could use these in more On shoes moving forward, that would be absolutely fantastic. As for this one, as I said, it's great, it does a good job. It's just not going to give you quite the feedback that you'll get from the other midsoles in the On lineup. For me though, as I said, I just feel like they get better year on year. The upper fit on this is brilliant. I'm very, very happy, and it feels really good. As for it going into my rotation, I think I'm going to start giving it a few more runs. I think it's going to squeeze in there now over some of the other shoes. It's going to get the nod. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time out there. What I always appreciate with a firmer midsole foam in a setup like this is that, as I said, I get a little bit of stability, but not too much. I get enough where I don't feel like my ankle is rolling everywhere, and everything feels really smooth. It's actually been two of the smoothest runs that I've had in a very long time. Of course, don't forget, I've been using a Nova Blast that's worn out, so this is really nice and refreshing to slip my foot into. So yeah, they're going to be going into the rotation. I'll give them another few runs and see if they stick, and if they do, then they're going to get the nod, probably well up to 100 miles. So they work for me, but will they work for you? Well, I'm always appreciative, as I said, of these little late stage rockers here that just encourage you through the gait cycle. Just a lovely smooth transition. If you like a firmer midsole, absolutely, there's nothing to complain about this shoe. A lovely fitting upper, really comfortable back here, but deceptively lightweight with all this cushioning on here. A great option for those daily miles. And if you prefer a softer midsole, then this is not going to be the shoe for you. But I think for a lot of people, this will be very enjoyable. For those of you out there that watch my videos that enjoy the Brooks running shoes that also have a slightly firmer midsole, I think this one would also be worth considering out there. I'm going to see if it breaks in anymore. Make sure you stay tuned on the extra channel. I will give some more feedback on this shoe in a week or two's time when I've got a couple more runs in it and see if it starts to open up a little bit or if it stays the same. I'll let you guys know over there. Make sure you go over and check that channel out, give it a subscribe, and then you'll know when that video comes out. So there we go, those are my early thoughts on the On Cloudsurfer 2. More testing to come. As I said, video will appear on the extra channel coming soon. I'd love to hear from you guys. Is this a shoe that you've already picked up, or are you thinking about picking it up? Let me know in the comments below. Drop a comment and I'll get back to you down there. That's it from me today, guys. If you want to see how the Asics Nova Blast 5 capitulated and fell off a cliff, check out this video video up here of the 300 mile update, or if you want to check out my running shoe rotation that I used for my recent half marathon training, check out this video down here and I'll see you guys over on one of those.